Are you feeling a little bit messy? A little bit too clean? No, I feel like I'm reciting the lyrics of that song because I'm too messy. No, but seriously, healing is messy. Healing is up and down. It's backwards and forwards. It's one step forward, two steps back. And it can be tiring. I've been single for a year now and I've been going through this and it's not been easy. There's been dating involved in the process as well, which has kind of messed that up. But I wanted to bring a little special guest today. Yasmine, welcome to King of Hearts. And we're going to talk all things healing. So you're a life coach,
Life and
relationship
relationship coach.
coach,
I'm also a plant medicine facilitator.
plant medicine.
Facilitator.
What's that?
So do you know what magic mushrooms are?
I was just speaking about this with someone else
So
today.
That's what I do. I facilitate spiritual experiences so you can dive deep within yourself. It's when
Can you take me?
I would be delighted and honoured to facilitate you having an experience. Why don't we do it before I leave?
Amazing. Have you done ayahuasca?
Yeah, many times.
Have you?
Yeah. I've probably sat more than 130 ceremonies now.
130 ceremonies of ayahuasca.
No. Of different medicines. So I've done ayahuasca, peyote, bufo, yopo, magic mushrooms, obviously.
This is all psychedelic family.
These are all psychedelics, yeah.
If you love me, let me fly away. Maybe I'll come back to you. Maybe I won't.
I facilitate anything that you need to heal that's within my toolkit. I will facilitate it.
And do you think the world needs more mushrooms?
Oh my God, if I could put it my personal opinion.
To heal.
Yeah, absolutely. My personal opinion, the human brain has a conscious part and a subconscious part, right?
Yeah.
Your subconscious part of your brain is 95% of your brain. And in your subconscious is where your blueprints are, right? So if you're born to a family where, let's say, dad's a bit of an alcoholic and he gets a bit verbally aggressive and occasionally might be a bit physically aggressive, as a child, maybe you learn, particularly if you're female, you'll probably learn this, to shrink yourself. You learn from a young age, your blueprint for survival is to shrink yourself so that you don't attract that unwanted attention from dad, right? So as you get older, as you move through the world, your blueprint in your subconscious brain, so your subconscious brain is what controls your behavior, right? Like your subconscious patterns of you use a knife and fork. If you grow up in Japan or China, maybe use chopsticks.
Right.
And these are your blueprints. You know how to use these things. So your blueprints are subconscious behaviors. These are things that we do without realizing until we bring it into our conscious mind. We're like, oh, why do I do that? And so sometimes we need somebody or something in our life to bring our attention to what we're doing subconsciously that damages us.
Right.
So, for example, the child that minimized herself to not be in dad's way, that was a blueprint for survival that kept her safe when she was very small. When you do that in your career, you miss out on opportunities.
Right. If you minimize yourself.
Yeah. So it's about the fact that our subconscious blueprints, they're wired that way, usually at quite a young age. When you look at certain behaviors that we have in adulthood, sometimes we've been doing them for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. But actually, they're not very good for us. But we're not conscious of it because that was what kept us safe.
It's the same in relationships.
100%. In fact, that's where you see it the most, right?
Because I feel like relationships are the strongest form of mirroring.
100%. And I think that's a concept that we don't really speak about enough in terms of healing, right? I talk about this concept a lot.
Yeah.
Because if you can see it in another, it's because it exists in you. Because let's say someone comes up to you or I in the street and screams, "You fat, ugly bitch."
Yeah.
I don't really have any issues about my appearance in that capacity that would really upset me. And you're gorgeous, so I'm assuming that you wouldn't either. So my instinct would be, this person is probably either having a bad day or they've got mental health issues, or maybe they're going through something really scary in life right now. Probably wouldn't let it interfere with my day. If anything, I'd probably be a little bit concerned about them. However, if that is something that is uncomfortable for you,
you believe it,
it's going to trigger you emotionally and you'll become dysregulated and it's going to affect you.
That would affect me.
That would affect you if someone came up to you and screamed to you like that.
Yeah. Because I definitely think I'm working on my self-esteem right now. Like You can be pretty on the outside, but it's like having that like self-love and self-worth. And I've definitely struggled with that over the years of like loving myself. And, you know, if someone said to me like, you're not my type, or like I had this situation with a guy recently where he was like, yep, you're not really my type. Blondes are more my type. That really hurt me.
Why?
Because
Let's do shadow work right now. Why? Why does that hurt you?
Because it makes me feel not good enough.
Why does it make you feel not good enough?
Because I just want to be like loved.
Okay. So why does this particular man, is this man somebody that's close to you or
No,
so you don't have an existing relationship with him?
not really. Romantic interest, but not anymore. He was. And then when he said that, I was like, no.
So why, if you want to be loved, why would him having a physical preference for something that you don't fit because you're brunette?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could go and dye your hair if you wanted to, but that wouldn't fix the self-esteem.
Yeah.
Why does him being attracted to blondes, or why does you not fitting his type, why would that have anything to do with you being lovable or loved?
Because what he's saying is that you're not what I like.
But why does that have any effect on you and your value?
Because I want him to like me.
But why do you want him to like you?
Maybe I don't like myself enough and I need someone to fill that void.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good.
Like
It's a little bit like that. It's,
external validation.
yeah, exactly that. Because if everybody else says that we're amazing, then we can avoid looking at why we don't think we are.
Yeah.
If we really think about how we actually build self-esteem, the way that we actually do it is by making little promises to ourselves. So maybe I'll get up at 6:30 a.m. I'll brush my teeth, walk the dog, make the bed, have a healthy breakfast.
Yeah.
And then when you tick those things off, you keep your promise to yourself, your self-esteem builds.
That's so
Compound
true.
effect.
Yeah.
You know, a daily thing. Like obviously if you do that once a week, your self-esteem's not going to be that great. And it goes deeper than that, of course. But
It's making little promises to yourself. That's how you grow your self-esteem.
because I think the thing that now this could be my own personal take, but one of the things that I recognize with a lot of humans is that we think about something that we want to achieve or experience or do or feel. And we think about it as us doing it. But if you're able to step outside of yourself and think about giving it to yourself as if you're a third person, as if you were looking at your inner child or yourself as an adult, and you think about, let's say you want to build a certain company or you want to have a certain experience, why would you not give that to yourself? Like if it was your child, you wouldn't think, oh, it's too expensive or I don't have the time for it.
Yeah.
Do it. So why would you not do it for yourself? Because you don't value yourself enough. People that don't give themselves it's really good that I'm having an epiphany as I'm speaking about myself. It's like, if you're not giving yourself what you want, it's because on some level, you know this because you speak about manifestation, on some level, you don't truly believe it.
That you deserve it.
Yeah.
And if you think like for healing purposes, if we're talking on like a relationship perspective, because obviously healing's messy. Healing's it's beautifully messy, shall we say.
This is why you should sit the mushroom ceremony. You're going to love it because it's like doing 5 years worth of therapy in the space of a few hours.
Yeah.
But you can't ignore it. It's seeing people in their messiness and in their rawness and being there for them when they're...
People don't want to be messy anymore. This is the issue. Concerned about other people thinking what they...
Yeah, but that's just a reflection of the fact that you need to go and sit in your messiness.
Right.
Right? Like the more you
Maybe I need to sit in my messiness.
100%.
So the more that you sit in your messiness, if this is for someone listening at home, you're saying in order to heal, you need to get messy.
You cannot achieve or experience the light without going through the darkness. It's not possible. You know, there's so many people that want to experience all the best parts of the world and the human experience, but they want to avoid
the pain and
and
the
actually,
suffering.
Your answers are all in your pain.
The answers are all in your pain. That's
100%.
so true.
There's a Japanese proverb, and forgive me because my paraphrasing, but in Japan they talk about how when you break an object, they weld it back together with molten gold, and they talk about how it adds value to the object being broken. Like,
wow.
think of themselves more like that. I think the reason I ended up doing this job, you know, facilitating people turning their pain into power, is because I've done that so many times. I had a really chaotic life until I was about 31, like really chaotic. But I mean, if
Tell
I told
me.
you the headlines, you'd be like,
Just
what?
say the headlines quickly for
I
everyone.
mean, I had cancer before I was 30. I lived
Crazy.
maybe 23 to 25 years of my life in abuse. So like constant fight or flight all day, every day for most of my life.
Wow.
Experienced abusive relationships, both in my home, outside of my home. I was homeless at 16.
Wow.
Worked multiple jobs, had my first business at 23. You know, like it's
You live 9 lives. You're a cat.
exactly that.
Wow.
I think that what I learned was it doesn't matter. Like nothing in this life is yours. Everything is on lease. Everything. You know,
Nothing is yours.
nothing is yours.
And I guess when you realize that nothing is yours, you can then
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Got it.
and have fun. Is that the same with love and relationships? Like
Yeah,
nothing
like,
lasts.
No one's yours. Your husband's not yours. Your wife's not yours. Your kids are not yours. The only thing that is yours is
Your soul.
integrity. Yeah, your soul. And so it's, you know, we're talking about healing. It's like the biggest tip that I could give anybody for healing any part of your life. Every single time you're emotionally dysregulated, so every single time your nervous system is dysregulated, that you feel stressed.
What does that mean?
Your nervous
Dysregulation?
system dysregulation is literally an extreme emotional feeling.
Right.
The ones that we like happiness and laughter, you don't have to pay so much attention to those.
Yeah.
But there's still some gems in there. But if you really want to do work on healing yourself, the best thing to do is learn how to work through your triggers. It's going to be really hard to do that on your own. You're probably going to need a life coach or a relationship coach, therapist, somebody with some sort of psychological understanding. And what you want to do is every single time you get triggered by somebody, whether they make you angry, frustrated, upset, they just bother you, look at why. Because every single time we are triggered, there is an answer in there. That is that's your inner child asking you to pay more attention to what hurts. So for example, let's say the guy prefers blondes.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, you understood that actually this comes from a place of you not feeling good enough.
And why do we feel not good enough?
I mean, look at the world. Why?
Capitalism, I kind of know the answer. It's because we're constantly fed and conditioned. In order for the society and economy that we live in, is you need to buy this product, you need to wear this face mask, you need to have these glasses, you need to have these jewelry to feel enough.
Yeah.
Because
what car do you drive?
right now you're not enough. Right now you're not enough.
Yeah, 100%.
You need
This is why you need to do more plant medicine, because the more you do plant medicine, you can take a person with the Ferrari, the watches, the cars, the women, and you can go and put them all in a room. Not all of that's left at the door.
Yeah.
The only thing that's in the room is you and your shadow. And you can either sit and make peace with your shadow, or you can be in turmoil. But the only person that is going to come out of that room is either you more in love with you, or you running away from you.
Right. So do you think if someone was going through healing right now and going through like a breakup, for example, or heartache, or struggling with self-esteem, let's say, and just going on their own spiritual growth journey, do you think plant medicine is something that that we should all be doing?
I think it depends on where you're at in your journey. There are sometimes I meet people and I think you're not quite ready yet. But that's obviously part of the job, is to know. And it depends what medicine as well, right? Like,
I'm ready for sure.
Oh, you're definitely ready. The other thing that I wanted to touch on that you said was about, you know, you look at the capitalism. Capitalism didn't create so much of it and magnifies it, but actually capitalism was probably built to feed off of it. Like,
Right.
This is a wounding within humanity that's always been there. Like, not
Right.
And part of the root cause is because if you go back to like tribal times, we all have a very, very, very deep rooted fear of abandonment and rejection. That's why when somebody says, "Oh, I prefer blondes," that's a micro rejection.
Yeah.
That's why it's so triggering.
Yeah.
And so if you peel back every single trigger, it will always come back to fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, not being good enough.
Right.
And the reason being is because we're tribal animals, right? If you go back,
We're in a
caveman
community.
times, yeah, right. And if you are rejected from that community for any particular reason, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's rooted so deeply with us. It's not something you can heal. You can manage it. You can
Right.
become logical about it. You can understand it. But it's actually it's wired into us for survival. So it kind of makes sense, right, when you think about it like that.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. So what can you advise to someone who is going through healing and is doing the work in their, I guess, self-worth? I mean, I'm speaking for myself as well. You know, I've been single for a year now. I have been a serial monogamist for 5 years before that, and realized that I was constantly repeating a pattern. And I think that's also another thing in healing.
So good.
You're
What was the pattern?
attracting, I would say, well, my first love was avoidant, and I was extremely anxious, emotionally unavailable. Like, he didn't give me the time of day, and I loved it because I was working for his love. And then the last relationship was more of, that relationship fed my ego more than it did my soul.
Okay.
The nice lifestyle, the cars, this or that. But then actually the relationship itself was draining me, like on a soul level. Like I felt like the life was being taken out of me.
Okay.
So it was in all of those relationships, I felt like I was being drained. My energy was being drained.
Yeah.
And I don't want to repeat that cycle anymore. I want to be able to be in a relationship where we're constantly filling each other's cups. And I think part of that is because I entered those relationships with an empty cup. And a lot of people enter relationships with an empty cup.
Most people are. It's interesting. I really like everything that you said. I think so. When we're talking about healing, the fact that you were able to identify a pattern, fantastic. I think a lot of healing, what most people are maybe not grasping with the healing aspect is, it's all about self-reflection. It's all about, what was my role in it? I think
instead of blaming the other person, right? I was in a bad relationship because he was a narcissist.
Exactly. He was a narcissist. Okay,
he was the problem.
Right. Okay. I say this as someone that has been in many very abusive relationships. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath,
and you stay in it,
you can't not stay in it. It's part of the process. You are just as much playing a role in that relationship.
Yeah.
There is no relationship on the planet. There is not one that exists anywhere where it's all one person, nothing to do with the other. That does not exist. If we go back to the reflection theory, everyone that you're experiencing is reflecting something back to you that exists within you, right? So even if we're able to identify that person has narcissistic traits, we also have narcissistic traits. And the narcissist actually suffers with the exact same problem that the person that is their victim or the receiving end suffers with, which is not feeling good enough, and they want to be loved. But because they don't feel good enough, they go out of their way to try and manipulate and force and control to make themselves be seen as good enough.
We're just going to take a pause there, and we'll be back after this break.
I think you raised a really good point of, when it comes to healing, it's definitely taking accountability for your own actions as well. I think we are so quick to judge others, and we are so quick to blame the other person, and not looking within and actually doing the actual work. Because you can blame someone, and you can blame them, and you can blame them, and you can blame them.
You give away all your power.
Not only that, but you don't learn.
Well, exactly. Because
you just meet someone else who'll do the same thing and be like, oh, they were a narcissist as well.
Right, exactly that. So the thing is that if you're the person that this is what happened for me. I kept having all these crazy experiences in my life, and I'd look at other people and I think, your life isn't as crazy as mine. So why me? And I started to then look at certain things that I was doing. And I'd be like, oh, that's actually a bit narcissistic. You should probably not do that. And I just got really honest with myself. And I still have to do it. I still have to sit down with myself and be like, I don't really like when I'm doing that, and I don't really like how I behaved there, and I need to apologize for that. And that is what healing is. I think lots of people think that like healing is like sitting in the bath or having a glass of wine. It's definitely not having a glass of wine. Like,
or doing drugs.
Yeah, or doing drugs, or like, going to therapy. And yes, it is. But like I know of people that go to therapy and they show up for their therapy session, but they don't actually
do the work.
And so it's really the roots of healing is holding yourself accountable and recognizing that, okay, at what point did I see a red flag? And was I either too naive to not know that it was a red flag, which happens, right? Sometimes we don't know the psychology. Like, not everyone is a psychiatrist. That's fine. But where did I see that red flag before, and where did I ignore it? Or did I feel something in my gut and ignore it and carry on?
Oh yeah, for sure.
These sorts of things.
Yeah,
it's like, so yes, it might be bad what the other person did. I'm not disputing any of that. But you get to decide what you allow in your experience.
Oh, and then the next time also realizing that if you want to change in pattern, you need to change yourself.
100%. You have to change that subconscious blueprint.
Yeah,
You
you
have to bring it into
change.
your consciousness, your
Exactly.
behavior, what you think, what you feel, why you behave that way. When we do things that we're not proud of, you know, when we're angry or we get upset about things because someone behaved a certain way, are you behaving in a way that you're comfortable with? Because I always say to people, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. Are
How
you
you
comfortable with
react.
how you conduct yourself? And for me personally, I would always, no matter what another human being does, would want to conduct myself with grace.
And, you know, I definitely think that for me personally, my life has changed drastically the more that I've changed myself, in the sense of I now view myself like I look after my body more. I go to the gym more. I meditate more. And the way you change yourself, the world that you see changes as well. And this is why I've gotten to a stage in my healing journey now, which is crazy that we're talking about psychedelics, because I literally had a talk yesterday about psychedelics at this like breathwork class that I did. And then the guest before this, we were talking about psychedelics, and I'm going to Amsterdam now to do a psychedelic thing with her for her YouTube channel. And now you're talking about psychedelics. So I think it's something screaming at me to do psychedelic therapy or something.
What I find with psychedelics, I could talk about this for hours, but what I find with them is that it's not an accident.
Nothing's an accident.
Yeah, like the first time you ever hear about ayahuasca is not, there's no such thing as coincidence. I actually think that word should be removed from the English dictionary. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a coincidence.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, and the fact that you're hearing this so much would, as a facilitator, I would be assuming that you are being very much called into this experience for many parts of your healing.
And it's not for everyone. That's not to say everyone listening right now, go and do magic mushrooms. But maybe you're listening to this episode and maybe it is a calling. Or
well, a facilitated experience is very different to like getting together with your friends on a Friday night. And like, what I would say is exercise and air caution. Like, I do not recommend anybody doing any psychedelic for fun or recreation, just as a disclaimer. If you want to have a facilitated spiritual experience, it's incredibly
like
different.
therapy.
Oh, absolutely. I can take you to some places that you'll be talking about for a long time.
Okay, I love that. And what other ways, so obviously we speak about, you know, healing being messy and you know, you go within and it's through that uncomfort. But can you also be, because this is another thing, everyone's like, healing's not easy, it's difficult, it's this and that. But can you also heal gracefully and heal with ease and also self-care?
It's as difficult as you make it.
Yeah.
The more you avoid yourself, the harder it will be. So one of the things that I do now is like, if I need to cry, I just cry.
Yeah.
So like, if I need to walk around Tesco's crying,
oh yeah,
if I still need to go to Tesco's, I'll just go to Tesco's. But if I need to cry, I'm going to cry.
I came here and I was like, don't know if I can do this. I literally cried in the reception downstairs because it just like, I just still had some like emotions in me. From the breath work, you know?
Yeah.
Breath work's really hard. And I went really. Very releasing, but we went quite deep and dark yesterday.
It's good. So this is what I'm talking about. The fact that you're willing to still go on with your day and cry and also be willing to be like, I'm not sure if I can do it.
I'm just like, this is who I am.
That's great. That is healing.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that actually it's about not putting too much pressure on it to be so like beautiful in the stereotypical sense. You know, there are times where I've done different types of psychedelics and I might sit there crying for hours and hours and hours. And I think that is beautiful. And I think that is graceful.
It's so releasing.
All you can do is show up for your experiences now. I always say, just show up for your spiritual assignments with as much grace as possible. So
be open to learning.
Yeah, and take it 24 hours at a time. Like, there's so much urgency. I noticed this with young people. Young people have so much urgency. When I was in my 20s, I think I slept the least. I did the most. I was going nowhere fast.
Why do we have urgency, do you think? Because I feel that urgency.
Yeah, to achieve, to do. I think some of it comes down to what you were saying about capitalism. Like, There's these societal expectations of what our life should look like at
But the
certain
same in
ages.
relationships.
Yeah, of course.
Like I'm in this rush to get married and have kids by 28.
Why?
That's what society is saying. But then it does fall on me, and I do subconsciously feel that pressure. And I'm like, when am I going to meet the one? Like, I'm 26 now. Like, time is
One
ticking.
was you.
Yeah, my
One was
life
you.
coach said that to me. She was like, you are complete. You don't need anyone. I was
Life
like,
coaches are saying
yeah.
the same thing.
She's like, you don't need anyone to complete you. And I'm like,
You can still be complete by yourself and still want a husband. There's nothing wrong with
Okay.
wanting something and having a desire for an experience. Like,
yeah.
part of loving yourself is wanting to have amazing experiences.
And I do have that. And like, you know, more and more that time goes on, I'm like enjoying being single even more, because the more I'm enjoying myself so much, I'm like, I don't want to sacrifice my happiness and my peace for someone that could potentially disrupt that. The only issue I have with that is do you ever heal so much that you become so self-sufficient that you almost become a bit, I guess, avoidant of relationships? Because
you're not healed, are you?
Avoiding. Yeah. But you're like almost like, I'm so good, because I have friends who have been single for years, and that
it becomes a habit, doesn't it?
it does, and then it actually becomes harder to open up again.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think that there's ever an end to healing, ever.
Never.
I don't,
Never.
There's no person on the planet.
So there's no
like,
rush.
No. And so I think that actually the problem that I've experienced personally is that, and I don't really see it as a problem, is that when you become more healed, you become more conscious, you become more awake, more aware. It's harder to bullshit you, basically. And so you start realizing that you can see a lot of other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what you were once attracted to completely changes. And so what you start to be attracted to becomes more rare. So there's more like
Right.
a pond.
Yes, I agree. Because now that I've been doing this like singleness and like building my self-worth so much, like the treatment that I'm seeing from guys and that
different.
in my dating world, not only is it different, like I am getting good treatment, but then other things that I don't like, I'm much quicker to cut off. Whereas before I would let it drag
that's
on.
Self-love.
Yeah,
Because if you love yourself, you wouldn't tolerate bad.
exactly.
There's a lot of healing that you can do on your own, right? And there's a lot of healing that you can do in relation with others. And there is some healing that you need to do alone, and there's some healing that cannot be done alone and has to be done in relating to others.
Yeah, because the relationship requires two people, and like you're like reflecting things to each other. Whereas when you're on your own and you spend so much time on your own, nothing can really trigger you. Yeah.
It's easier to
So
be securely attached when you're just attached to you.
well, that's the thing. And I think with another thing I want to say, just to wrap things up, healing does not have to be a lonely journey. You know, like I've been dating guys in this last year. I've not been completely nunnery.
But that's
like
not, or I've been celibate for 3 years until recently.
I've been celibate for 3 months.
It's really good for you.
Which is
celibate.
3 years for you.
It's really good for you.
My life has been peaceful the last 3 months. But like, do you not ever?
Because you're not having someone else's energy interfere in your body. I think that one of the things that lets our society down a lot is casual sex. There's nothing casual about sex.
No.
I've had like a few people say to me before, like, I slept with that person on the first date. They don't know that I have therapy. I feel like it's too intimate to tell them that I go to therapy. So someone is putting themselves inside your body and you're sharing intimate energy, but you can't tell them that you go to therapy. For me, I could tell the whole world I went to therapy. I don't know about having sex with somebody the first time I meet them, though. Each their own. Like,
Yeah.
it's judgment on other people. I'm just saying that I think that a lot of people don't understand
The sacredness of sex.
or just how much it can affect you. You know, like you
Yeah.
have sex with somebody and it's like somebody's got a lot of trauma, a lot of depression and pain, and their frequency's low, and they're having sex with you. You think that's not going to affect you? Of course it is.
We also put this pressure on ourselves that you know, at least I do, that every guy that I meet has to be the one.
I don't think that's necessarily putting pressure on yourself. I think that there's a lot of people that operate like that. And I actually think it's quite nice because you're dating with intention.
I am dating with intention. Like, I'm not joking when I say like, I don't want to just fuck around anymore. Like, I really just I am dating to marry
Yeah, okay.
or like to
I don't
have
think
my
that's bad though.
soulmate, you know, whatever, like the person that I want to have kids with.
There's lots of soulmates available to you, but I also think that you're dating with the idea of longevity essentially, and you're looking for something or someone in particular that has a certain, I
like
suppose,
similar values to me.
yeah, values, but also like skill sets as well, right? And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for someone that you can raise a family with, and that's beautiful. And there are lots of men that are also looking for that too. I think it's about looking for someone that's looking for the same kind of things that you are. And I also think that, similar to what you've already said, it's really about having very similar outlooks on life together. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking for someone with intention.
Yeah.
But the idea that every single person you meet is going to be the one,
You're going to be mostly 99% disappointed.
I would encourage you to be more like
Curious.
Yeah, I think curious is one of my favorite words, you know, like just get more curious. We make so many assumptions about all sorts of things.
And
I
also
just
we have
think-
so many expectations.
And it's good to have standards.
Yeah. But then I shouldn't be having expectations of someone that I don't really know either.
I also think women move a bit faster than men. A man will just show you. He'll show you who he is and where he's at. Whereas it's like after like date 4, we think, well, we should be doing this at date 4. And it's like, well, we all operate slightly differently. So it's okay. You don't know what's going on in his day or in his life all the time. Get more curious.
Okay. Yeah, I think I take deep dating a little bit too seriously.
That's because you take yourself seriously, which is also an expression of your self-love. So don't be too hard on yourself.
I know, I'm a bit too hard on myself.
Be a bit more gentle.
I need to be more gentle and more more fun.
Dating is fun. Being single is fun. It should just be fun.
I'm trying to make it fun and not having expectations.
No, but it's still good to ask all those important questions.
That's the thing.
But asking those important questions could also be fun.
That's true. Okay. Well, if you enjoyed this episode and healing is on your radar right now, and it should always be.
Should always be.
Healing, even if you're in a relationship, which I don't think the people listening to this podcast are in a relationship.
There's people listening to the podcast that are in a relationship. Well, sure.
If there are, then I hope you're healing in your relationship and reflecting each other's triggers and learning and growing from them, because you can learn and grow beautifully in a relationship as well and become even closer and more bonded, and just insane sex you're probably having. I'm very jealous. And then singletons, our fellow singletons. Are you single?
I'm single.
Yeah. Our
I
fellow
love being single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just get on your wavelength. I'm loving it at times, but I've had a pickle the last 48 hours. So I'm a bit in my, usually I'm loving my life.
Spend some time with me, do a couple of mushroom ceremonies with me, you'll be golden up.
Okay. So we basically want you to do mushrooms. Just disclaimer, okay, this all legalness is happening here. Okay. If you're curious into psychedelic therapy, Google it, do your research, message Yasmine if psychedelics is something that you're into. But if psychedelic therapy is not for you and you want to go a step below, breathwork therapy and contrast therapy, meditation. Just start with meditation, actually. Just start with meditation. So if you are more interested in what Yasmine does, give your Instagram handle.
My Instagram handle is Yasmine Gould. Yasmine is spelled Yasmine, Gould, Gould, with an underscore at the end. You can message me.
There you go. And if you really liked this episode and you want more episodes on healing and all the good, juicy messiness of it, send me a message on Instagram, and also share this on your story if you really enjoyed it, and follow the podcast. 80% of people who listen to the pod don't follow the pod. So it will really help with the podcast if you click follow. It means the world. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insight. And I can't wait to do a mushroom ceremony with you.
Oh, you're going to love it.
I'm so excited.
Maybe I won't.